targeting them. It says a lot when the jungle goat is giving you that respect. I like it.
It's Levi's most played across the course of the year, 84% win rate on it. Maokai as well, undefeated on that this year, 8-0. So we'll see if DK decide to continue to pinch that jungle pool. Instead, the Kalista, who, although on the stage hasn't been that impressive, is obviously making waves in scrims.
And I want to point out something kind of interesting about Dplus draft strategy so far at Worlds. They've actually had Deft not play Xayah or Kaisa one single time so far in the tournament. He's opted every time for something with extra range. You know, he played the Caitlyn, he played the Ziggs, he played the Varus as well. So it's been a different, interesting kind of take here for the Dplus bottom lane. Of course, a lot of people also memeing on Kellin for missing some Alistar combos, but still definitely a premier champion.
Orianna, to me, is the main pick, especially with the Xayah being banned away. ShowMaker, however, has mentioned that he feels like, as the Kaisa will get picked up, that Orianna specifically, as strong as she is, does require more resources. It's an immobile champion, so against some mid-jungle 2v2s, you can kind of struggle. And I would expect Dplus to kind of follow what they've been doing, give a lot of resources, both in draft and in jungle attention towards the bot side of the map, because playing towards Deft, I think, is the best that DK have looked. And even if you know, like them playing towards that mid-jungle 2v2, they've definitely been the most consistent if Deft is in a good position.
All right, GAM instantly lock in some carry attack combo here. The classic spicy hot pot, Jarvan Cataclysm, Rumble, ultimate over the top of it. And we had a big conversation about the top side of the map. Rumble has been absolutely oppressive in the top side. Not really anyone has been able to find any hard counters to it, so it's mostly just been kind of answers here, and the Ksante will be picked up again. Jarvan with the early ganking potential here. It looks like GAM definitely coming out with some early firepower, and Dplus maybe weather the storm there.
They're making their intentions known, aren't they? Like, we are going to play through top. We're going to try and get Levi and Kiaya ahead. Kiaya, 5 games on the Rumble in this year, has won 4 of those. And now we'll see where DK decides to go. Jungle pick Lee Sin for Canyon alongside that Kaisa and Ksante.
I always love Lee Sin into Jarvan, but especially love me some Canyon Lee Sin. Jungle goat indeed. Let's see what he's got this time around. Here's your Orianna though. After they already kind of flashed the Syndra and let it go, you know, Dplus and ShowMaker himself are saying, yeah, it's fine. I will drop my mid lane pick as Dplus and let you have that Orianna protected by 2 bans.
And we've basically seen 2 approaches, I think, domestically against Dplus as well. One is try and match them early, because if they don't get ahead early, they really struggle, or draft team fight and wait for them to mess up. And thus far, GAM really going heavy on the team fighting power.
Now, I think ShowMaker's actually, even though they flashed the Syndra, maybe that was a little bit of trying to bait them, because when you're looking at a Jarvan jungle in addition to the Orianna matchup, you usually want something more mobile to be able to dodge that. Akali, Yone, those types of things. You can go for kill pressure with a Lee Sin as well. So definitely want to see how risky they're feeling, and if GAM want a protection ban, you know, something like the Akali instead.
And that's kind of a tough one, because both Akali and Azir, I think, are great picks here. Now, the Azir makes sense to me because it's been the one that ShowMaker has mostly been going for. But the Akali, ever since it was brought out by Chovy, has seemed like a very successful mid to late game answer into the Orianna specifically. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is what is picked up. Does mean that the mid jungle 2v2 doesn't really come online until level 6.
Yeah, I mean, you intentionally sacrifice some things when you're picking Akali. The early skirmishing, yes, going to sacrifice that. You're going to sacrifice wave push as well early on, but you will turn into such a good side laner later. It makes it very difficult for GAM to play anything besides a clumped up 5-on-5. But, you know, with the comp that they're showing already, that is going to be the direction they go no matter what.
And I think the R4 Rakan here from GAM is actually very obvious. It's such an easy pick, hasn't been banned so far, safest support left, especially with the Renata ban. You can't really be shut down in the lane too much. It does open up Dplus Kia for the Rell pick, and then alongside that, their mid laner, the Akali that we've been talking about. But if I'm GAM, I'm looking at this composition, and I'm very happy with what I've drafted. You have late game insurance with the Orianna, you have jungle top early pressure with the Rumble Jarvan, and then you have Palette on one of his signature champions in the Rakan.
Yeah, this is exactly bread and butter for GAM. some winning skirmish style stuff towards the top side of the map, get spicy maybe, try and get an early lead. And then Kati on something that does scale super nicely for later that can be that big carry for the later team fights. Here's another look though, ShowMaker gonna drop down the Sylas.
And for me, really big, we'll see how he's able to actually deal with the Rumble ultimate placement. I think we've seen a very big discrepancy between mid laners throwing equalizers and top laners throwing equalizers. Is definitely a specific skill set. Do you think that the Zeri, as strong as it is when it comes to mid to late game fights, might tilt the GAM composition a little bit too far into the scaling direction? Because I do think that Dplus, for all their mid game faults, we've seen them lose, I feel like from like 5 to 8k gold leads multiple times throughout the year. At the same time, letting them have free reign early is a really risky proposition, and it does kind of feel like that's what GAM is leaning towards, bar any like level 6 5v5 mega wombo shenanigans.
And whenever you're evaluating mid lane matchups, you also have to take into account the support roam timers here. And so if you are going to give up some push on bottom side or some priority from bottom side, then that definitely means these supports are coming for your flash in mid lane, try and make some visits early and often.
I think it does isolate Slayder a little bit if Pallet wants to get out of that lane, look up towards the top lane. That's kind of where we expect GAM's focus to be in the early game. DK obviously have the survivability of Ksante up there. He can tank a lot of pressure. And with the game plan being so obviously spelt out by GAM, you have to think that DK will be investing into vision early, investing into pressure early in that top side to make sure that Canna can survive the first 5 to 10 minutes of this game.
Yeah, for me personally, I'm going to be looking towards how well are you able to track Canyon early, and can you avoid like 2v2s and 3v3s that kind of can accelerate the game. If this goes even for like the first 10-15 minutes, I think that you're in a great position here as
the rest of the team are watching him. If I shout who's got the log in the middle of a cast, can you follow up on? Let's get on to Summoner's Rift for our first game of the day. Dplus Kia facing off against the GAM. An elimination match. The loser of this best of 3 is taken out of Worlds.
It's a team log, medic.
It's a team log.
It's very similar to the bus driver. You know, someone always has to be the bus driver. And if you're on the bus, then you just say thank you for the free LP.
Okay, sure. But you not multiple people driving the bus, because that would be
that's dangerous.
Bit more,
yeah.
Okay, but multiple people need to carry the log.
You can be a good passenger on the bus.
That's true. And you guys can also be good passengers watching at home, because you don't need to forget to log in and watch on lolesports.com to earn exclusive Worlds 2023 drops like emotes and icons. They're cool, the drops. You can get some cool stuff. Esports capsules.
So 2 things I want to note. Canna has not gone for Aftershock, which is tech we see a lot into the Rumble, where you itemize for early MR, and then with Aftershock, you're actually able to shrug off a lot of the harass. And Kiaya, and Huni's on the desk, so I won't go into too much detail, but did go for the teleport here, as opposed to the Ignite. Now, of course, as mentioned, this is Ksante lane, so you can feel like you might have less kill pressure there, but does really diminish some of the pressure that the Rumble might otherwise have.
Both junglers starting their blue buffs here, so will it to end on opposite sides as well. Kenyon's going to be pathing away from that lane, away from the Ksante, away from the Rumble, not as scared. And meanwhile, wonder if he actually makes his look to try and punish ShowMaker and start burning his flash early and really try and get the most out of some of these early pushing levels here for the Orianna, because having that early advantage in wave clear here definitely can be a way to start it up.
We have seen some Jarvans do the bot side, come through mid for a quick level 3 gank, and then work their way back up towards the top side. There is a ward on the Razor Beaks from ShowMaker that we saw being placed earlier, so Levi will be tracked as he works his way across. In fact, they pretty much know that he started on the bot side of the map because he hasn't appeared on his Razor Beaks yet, and if he had appeared, then they would know that he started top side.
Yeah, and we're about to see now the reveal. And they'll know both junglers just going for smooth, full clears here. All lanes kind of going as expected too. Kati got to push in the first couple of waves. Bounce on back now. Meanwhile, bottom side is pushing for Dplus as expected as well.
Took us in the SK like 4 months into, for me at least, into spring.
Took me years to change SKT to T1 as well.
That comes with the territory, and Right now, we did actually see pings going down from GAM as well, so they were aware that Levi was getting tracked towards the top side of his map, but isn't really going to mean too much with Slayder and Palat being very conservative with their trading. I say as Palat goes in, he's Rakan, so he's fine. There is already an opportunity for a dive, so the knowledge not going to lead to anything right now, except a crab trade.
Yeah. I would say that sort of Rakan play is one where, as an AD carry, you're kind of like, like maybe Kellin jumps in with the W on the Rell, but apart from that, I really can't trade because there's a minion under the tower anyway, though I would much prefer to last hit than trying to get some damage down onto the Rell. So overall, not too much happening there in the bot lane. I believe
Good vision
that
toggle.
Canyon was spotted. As we see Kati pushing up, pallet trading in the bottom side as Kellin and Deft get the right side of that one. Levi coming in, doesn't land the EQ, but ShowMaker forced away half HP. And it's just ships passing in the night as both the junglers work their way down towards the opposite side of the map.
Yeah, it seems like we'll have a pretty calm opening to this very important game for both of these teams. Such a meaningful series here with both of these teams going through their struggles, like you said, already in the tournament. GAM, of course, coming through play-ins, dropping early, but then being able to still... Oh,
it's a good trade. Pallet's so low already, down to 100 HP. Ignite is ticking on him. Will he get away? The Void Seeker's enough and first blood to DK.
Deft, the sniper, hits the W, gets the first blood bonus. That is exactly where Dplus want their money. All right, now, no more calm from GAM. All right, now it's time to turn it into overdrive. Once you see Deft get first blood, better turn up the pace.
Not the start that you're looking for. Already this Kaisa going to get ahead. And this is something that I really appreciate about the Dplus composition is, Kellin? You are
He's
alone.
by himself, so...
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
There's no damage here. He's just upping his skill shot hit percentage.
Yeah, particularly given Kellin's tournament thus far, you know. His Enchanter plays looked great. His Engage play, not really the level that we've come to expect from this player. But particularly because if Kaisa gets that look at the rest of the team, every single lane is set up for Killer Instinct, right? So if you ever are able to set up a play and rotate Deft away, can get him so much fed, or so much more fed very, very quickly.
Yeah,
Kellin,
Kellin doing his job, you know, his whole point there was just to try and delay minions a little bit getting under the tower to allow Deft time to arrive so he can pick them all up and maximize his gold. Meanwhile, the jungle Raptor fight, the classic, does go the way of the cheater who brings his support with him.
Look, I've had many fights over fried chicken over the years. I don't really blame them for battling it out over that. We saw Levi as well come down towards the bottom lane to make sure that Slayder could push this out. But all in all, this is just Pallet getting caught out with the stun. He tries to dash away, but can't escape in time. Yeah,
you always have to be really careful versus Rell to get within Q range of the brush. Because, yes, the crash down's pretty easy to dodge if there's nothing to set it up. But if you get in that crew range of the brush, Kellin does a very good job, hits him, then easy crash down follow-up, and enough burst damage with that ignite, with the W hitting. With that bottom lane pressure as well, it's going to be a pretty easy setup for Drake #1 here for Dom 1, so they have a pretty clear path to start controlling their objectives.
And that's the unfortunate part. If that kill on bot side doesn't happen, you know, the little play, stealing the chickens, keeping track of Canyon, using the priority that Orianna has early, can feel really good. But because of the fact that Deft already has is in a very good position in this 1v1, plus still has heal, you know, Kellin still has a sums as Canyon just keeps losing against Scuttle. This seems to be a recurring theme for him, just like Doran with his cannons.
Hey, Doran deliberately left that cannon, okay, Cronicler?
Canyon still...
I'm not going to pretend I know what is happening with Doran. He's an enigma.
Canyon also still kills the Scuttle Crab, just a little I don't need this. Takes away the blue buff as well. Wow, Levi's looking mid with level 6. ShowMaker still has flash though, so it's pretty hard to actually get the kill there.
That's another stun landing. There's already the plasma built up. Killer Instinct living up to its name as Deft takes his second of the game.
Oh man, this GAM bottom lane. Remember, this was the part of the team that was added most recently after MSI. Kellin's not done.
Slayder able to dodge to the side, has hit 6, has that lightning crash if he wants. It continues to put the damage down on Deft. Deft trying to trade back in. Slayder flashes away, but Canyon's here! And the Dragon's Rage is enough to secure the kill.
And Levi's kind of around, but they're going to see Levi on some wards, so I don't think Levi's even going to be able to get any kills back for GAM. It is heartbreaking for GAM, and it is just a tutorial for Dplus.
And Dplus feels so confident because not only was Canyon invading, look at the bot side vision that they have. It was the same thing that they did against BDS, where they are able to play this aggressively because of the control that Canyon's able to get. And then the moment that Pallet goes down, I understand Slayder, because I feel like at this point the desperation sets in, right? You're playing against a 2-0 Kaisa, you want to try and get something going. Kellin doesn't hit the Q.
I honestly think he wins the 2v1 if we don't have Canyon show up at the end.
But they also don't do that unless they have Canyon right there.
Yeah.
True.
So
and the heal was enough to keep him alive in the end there, so it might have just been a, flash for heal. Yeah.
But with the way that this early game is going, with Dplus smashing this GAM bottom lane in this fashion, it means that it's going to be so difficult for GAM to rely on that for later, and Dplus can really, really accelerate. They can now really start to focus on the Rift Herald that has arrived, and so we have support roam timers. It looks like Kellin is going to get sight of Slayder roaming up, and GAM, their kind of idea of sending all 5 for the Rift Herald fight, gets sussed out.
Kellin already level 6 as well. Pallet still probably a wave and a half away from getting there. Levi has started up this Rift Herald, and looks like DK actually either unaware or deciding not to fight it.
Yeah, during the vision toggle, it looked like they didn't see him, but I think once he turned around, back around the Herald, they did. And Canyon says, that's fine. You can go Rift Herald, you can go topside. I'm just going to continue to control down here so Deft can eat.
He's already got 150 gold bounty, 2 kills on him. Looks like it might be the static shift build here from Deft as well, with KiaGame sitting in his inventory.
And this is always what you want to do as a jungler when you've got a lane like that you want to keep in isolation so you can keep on winning. If you just take away the jungle camps of your opponent that are on the bottom side of the map where you want to have that control, then if they decide to try and come fight it and help out their bottom lane, then you will lose out on efficiency. You'll lose out on time because you don't have your own camps to farm to fall back on there because Canyon's already taken them away.
KiaGame obviously building into Storm Razor as well. Briefly skipped my mind, but it is Storm Razor for Deft on the Kaisa. There's so many builds, like you can basically go wherever
That's
you
okay.
want.
This is a mistake that Aiming made in week 1 of LCK as well, leading to some static shift shenanigans. But as mentioned, the fact that the Kaisa is this accelerated also means that the stacking of Drakes is going to become really easy for Dplus, and I feel like that's one of the premier ways where even if you have a composition which I think might struggle a little bit in 5v5 against the power of GAM, if you're up like 3 Drakes, you can just trade objectives across the map and accelerate that gold. You don't really have to worry that much about the 5v5 for the next, I don't know how many minutes. Look at the gold on Deft.
And just even look at the last 30 seconds, though. I know I've got some Canyon bias, but he really did just kind of delete the last 30, 45 seconds from Levi. No camps on the bottom side for him to take it all, so he just kind of wanders through Dplus vision, hangs around mid lane for a second on more Dplus vision, and eventually only has to be able to go salvage his Krugs up here. So really good stuff from Canyon to continue to play off the same area of the map to just further increase the lead. And that's something, those little min-max things for junglers to be able to deny enemy camps like that and deny your efficiency of time that the very best in the world will do and will punish you with. Now Levi's doing a little bit of a surprise, but there's no DPS here, so maybe just hold the wave until they get their lane swap and Slayder comes up.
Yeah, and you also see clear indication. GAM's like, we're not going to be able to contest this dragon anyway, so Levi showing doesn't really change anything here. The problem is that knowing that Levi is on top side does mean that Deft can play even more aggressive. As all Pallet, I don't know if he knows about Kellin.
He's able to dodge away in time. One of the things that is great about Rakan is just how slippery he can be. Pallet escapes the gank. 2 plates fall in the top lane, but that's already been answered by 2 plates in the bottom lane for DK. Yeah. Have about a 1,500 gold lead as we get over that 12-minute mark.
The other kind of knock-on effect for out-jungling like that, you get a really early transformation to be able to get your smite upgraded to have advantage in smite fights. Yep. And with so many of like these third dragons and Rift Heralds and Barons coming down to a lot of possible smite fights, if you get your upgraded version and your opponent is still sitting on a couple of extra camp clears that they were unable to get because you denied them and then spent a bunch of time shadowing lanes and stuff like that, it can be such a big knock-on effect. I mean, 106 CS now to 74 here for Canyon, plus the advantage for his laners on the bottom side. I mean, Dplus, game number 1 is looking like it's going straight through Dplus plans. ShowMaker now going to make a visit as well, see if he can try his hand at the lane swap as they rotate their AD carry and support towards mid.
Now for GAM, I think the gold lead specifically is still manageable. You know, it's not looking too odd, and I do think that once the next Drake, for by the way, Cloud Drake, which Dplus obviously will love, having seen that Drake basically infinite times since we the LCK love those. But particularly with the power of the wombo combat that they still have, one of the biggest weaknesses of DK and the reason why they've struggled against teams like KT and Gen G in particular is that their team fighting has been pretty hit or miss, and they've been known to try and over-engage. So I would really like to see GAM keep up the ward so that they can go for these type of press it. Oh, there we go.
Big flash away from Deft that keeps getting chucked by Kati, and as part of the power of GAM's composition, we wondered how explosive it would be in the early game, but they do have this good scaling, as you both mentioned in draft, and Orianna, after one, probably two items, can really start to take over a game.
And yeah, catching them in rotations, right? Example there, Dplus often goes for these fights when they don't necessarily have the resources to, and I like this push from GAM, playing really aggressive here towards mid. It's first turret. This for free.
I mean, I will say, slight gold lead for Deft in the AD carry role. Yes, he did just burn his flash, but he was kind of isolated.
He's fine.
See how well he does in team fights later on.
In the VCS, Kati generally was their like late game insurance here. So for the Orianna, such a champion that scales so well on this patch, to be getting those resources and to take away the safety of the mid lane, to be able to rotate through these plays, over through the jungle, over up to second Rift Herald and Dragon number 3. Maybe this is the angle for GAM to get there. Jarvan engage, because they want the big wombo combo. Remember, they want to use all of their champions, all of their ultimates in concert to be able to wombo combo Damwon, or Dplus here. And Deft will be the big target because Kati early blew his flash. If they can get that Jarvan combo with Shockwave, with Rumble ultimate onto Deft, even with the Killer Instinct reposition, they should be able to get him.
It's actually incredible timing as well from Kati there. 2 minutes on the Cloud Drake. It would be sole point for DK if they could take that, but now without Death's flash, you wonder how aggressive DK will want to be, especially since we're seeing first items completed on the side of GAM. Now we'll see a little bit of a catch out here on Pallet, but that's, once again, the slipperiness of Rakan.
And I can assure DK will. They will go.
They'll fight it?
Yeah, no,
cool.
they're 100%. They're going for it, and I think the biggest saving grace for Dplus is that at this point Canyon is also still so insanely strong that even if they overinvest, I think that's the one trap that GAM can't fall in, is overinvest into trying to kill Deft.
ShowMaker's got a big flank here coming from the back. They got to know he's there though. Yeah, Kati spots him out.
Everfrost short. The knock-up from Canna doesn't quite hit. Flamespitter coming out. Kellin goes in and immediately Cataclysm on the back line. Charm coming out as well, and Kellin's already down. Slayder gets his first of the game alongside GAM's first of this best of 3. In the end, the Rift Herald picked up for DK, but GAM get a kill out of it.
Worthy trade there for Dplus, but they do have to give up their Rell, so they're not getting it for free. GAM able to pick up a kill. We'll see who's in a better position here, and if Canna doesn't flash Kati's ultimate there, I think he goes down as well.
One of the big things is that GAM used every single ultimate there, so while they got a kill, now we're going to be looking at 30 seconds on this next Cloud Dragon.
With the Herald.
Yeah, and Canyon and ShowMaker both saved their ultimates. So we'll take another look at it, and it is a little preemptive as Kellin goes in for the big combo here. They're trying to get onto Kiaya early so they don't get the focus from GAM. They get that big kill onto Kellin, but I want to see if Damwon can now force it on the Dragon as ShowMaker goes for the 1v1.
For the Rudap's gone back dark. The Shockwave stolen, but Kati! The flash burn from ShowMaker in the end.
And that's going to be Dplus able to pick up a kill there. No Orianna, and that means the Drake a foregone conclusion. Soul point here at 17 minutes for Dplus.
There we go. ShowMaker saves his ultimate from the fight, goes for the 1v1 after. Orianna sombrero ultimate, point blank, gets the kill, flash for flash trade, and guarantees Damwon, Dragon number 3, soul point at 17.5 minutes, Medic.
It's pretty quick. I've got to be honest.
Not bad.
They've done a great job of controlling through the bottom lane. We haven't really seen GAM be as explosive as perhaps was promised. They are scaling into this game, and it's still only a 1,500 gold lead. I will say as well, Cloud Soul is great and all, but it's not the most impactful soul for this game.
And I'm kind of wondering for Dplus, as ShowMaker will get sussed out here. There's a lot of reinforcements on the way as well, so he's not going to try and make any risky moves. Although Canna and Kellin there, maybe they want to go, but everyone's aware of each other, so shouldn't be going in too aggressive there. Is that in the 1v1 and in the sides, ShowMaker is unmatched, right? Should be able to deal easily with whoever he meets. Is very evident here as he just hits the Everfrost and then chains from that point on his CC perfectly. That's the flash, but definitely will do that with no regrets. You don't actually have to contest Drake now for like the next 20-something minutes.
If you're DK.
If you're a DK, right? So you can play heavily towards getting more gold, and then by the time you actually do decide to 5v5, your lead should be accelerated so much from the turrets, because that's actually one thing that I think Dplus did really well in their series against BDS that we haven't really seen them be able to, which is getting a lot of objectives. The dragons, yes, but the turrets are all still standing, so GAM are still really safe on the map here, and I think Dplus need to snowball, might start here.
Canna looking for a little bit of the flank. The Rift Herald will charge in. Canyon now using that Cloud Rift to speed his way up towards the top lane, but Slayder, aware of it, will back away. And that vision line continues to extend from DK, a couple of wards just towards the GAM side of the map. And it's a position where it can become hard to play from behind, because although your towers do remain, you're always pushed back in the lane. It gives DK that option just to move between the lanes ever so slightly quicker.
And while those towers for GAM do remain, right now they are very tenuous.
They're struggling.
Every single one of them extremely low here, so there's a lot of standing gold for Dplus to be able to knock over pretty quickly if they make a hard push. And honestly, I think that ShowMaker should be able to get top right now while Canna also simultaneously gets the bottom. So this could be a big balloon and gold lead, and I definitely expect Dplus to hard force on the coming dragon. They've already got Rage Blade done for Deft, 2-item power spike for the Kaisa at 20 minutes.
Also mean, particularly with Rage Blade, like Baron is gonna go up in seconds, right? So GAM are going to be in a position in about a minute and a half where either you try and contest towards the bot side of the map, but with their composition, you can't really afford to have people isolated, so you kind of have to move as a 5-man unit towards Dragon. But if DK spots you in that, they can just hard commit to Nash. But then if you don't, and you let them, you know, move towards the Dragon and try to contest Nash instead, then you get blown up because they get Soul, and I gotta say, I don't think you need more mobility on things like the Rell or Kaisa or particularly the Sylas. And Cloud Soul definitely going to be unfun to play into in that regard.
Yeah, you don't. Maybe you don't need more mobility, but dang is it fun.
You know?
Dang is it fun.
You already can't get away if you're Kati from ShowMaker in a side lane. Like, if he gets Cloud Soul.
Well, they can't get away more.
Yeah, I mean, you know, actually, is that worse? Maybe not. It's fine.
All right. Let's see, too, because with both sides pushing in, I mean, GAM are in such a touch spot. You're constantly losing on side lanes being pushed in, and then that threatens the collapse into the flank and even possible dives here. The tower's so low that Dplus could be able to collapse here. It looks like GAM's setting up for the counter, though. You see Kiaya in the brush, ready with the Rumble ultimate. GAM hoping that they can pull out the Miracle Wombo combo. Deft and ShowMaker both have flash now, though, so pretty difficult to actually accomplish.
It's also really hard for GAM if they look for an engage, because you just don't have vision in the river. You have one ward in that bot side bush and one ward in the mid lane and one ward just over here, but Kellin was up backing in the pixel bush on the top side. You don't know that. He could be behind you for all the knowledge you have. So this is where it becomes very hard for GAM to actually find those wombo engages, and really they're hoping that DK overinvest into them and then they can wombo them as they try to engage.
Schrodinger's Kellin exists in all states. Ganking, flanking, inting, sometimes. Not this game, though. Absolutely really good stuff from him. Starting off a lot of the action on the bottom side, a lot of those engages. And really setting up Dplus for a very comfortable game number 1. Let's get it then. 7 seconds on this dragon. Here we go. We've got one big opportunity here.
And we did just get the quick blades done for Slayder as well. It's also Kati finishing Morello, Sterix for Levi. So GAM gonna try desperately. If they can get a teamfight win here, it could be what stabilizes the game for them. And with this teamfight comp, that could be enough.
Kellin looking for the flank. Dragon already down to 5,000 HP. Canyon looking for the kick as well as Pallet has to back away. Levi on that front line looking for the steal. could jump in here. Canyon comes back in, EQ flash, the equalizer on the backline as well as Deft is already low, but Cannon dives in. Slayder trying to do what he can already. The Dragon's down as DK, get the soul. Kiaya forced away. Levi goes in with a cataclysm, but he just doesn't have the damage to work his way through Deft. DK win the fight and they get the soul to boot.
Oh man, that is going to be pretty big. They can reset and even look to try and set up around Baron. 30 seconds left on Levi, the jungler. No flash left on him either. Canna's going to split push on bottom for a second. Now he goes to channel the recall, and there's the teleport. Looks like they are going to make the rotation.
Ooh, and also do note, Deft still has his ultimate available, so if anyone from GAM steps too far forward, he can join in a moment's notice. And as mentioned, with that Rage Blade, Nash is going to go up in seconds.
Yeah, I don't think Levi has time to spawn and get there, so it's going to need a miracle for GAM to steal. They can 4-on-5, try and just force them off with a fight.
What are you going to do, just walk at them? Yeah. That's what they're trying right now, but
Shockwave, maybe?
Not most effective strategy I've ever seen as Canyon secures the Baron and Kiaya pays for it with his life.
All right, let's wrap it up. Dplus in 24 minutes have acquired everything on the Rift. Time to push down some towers. Here's another look at the Dragon Smite fight. I want to see this because Levi actually gets a combo onto Deft and Rumble Ultimate is used there, but really good stuff from Canyon. He secures the Dragon with the Lee Sin combo. They chase off everybody else and then kill Levi as well. And they know with that jungler down, Baron's as good as yours.
Credit to ShowMaker as well. He held this Rakan up for so long on the backline. No one could step through that choke.
Yeah, and because of that, plus the fact that the equalizer wasn't perfectly lined up with the EQ combo, even though it was really nice that Levi was able to hit the flash, it meant that Deft was able to actually continue to 1v1, and then no one else could get to him because of the zoning that was being done. And then GAM, I think, you know, trying to get anything done there, I understand, but at the same time, they did actually use all their ultimates in that fight. So without your ultimates and without your Jarvan, the composition just doesn't have the power necessary. And now Soul's there, DK gets to pick up all that objective gold that we were talking about. And from this point on for GAM, teamfight power nut, you're really going to need a miracle. And Dplus, from this position, should be able to cruise here towards a Game 1 victory. Now, that's been said before.
So I'm just checking, Dplus aren't like KT, where if we say they're going to win, they lose, right?
Not, I don't know.
Not to that extent?
That depends on which Dplus fan you ask.
Okay.
Definitely not right now, too, with a 7,000 gold lead, with the Dragon Soul, with the Baron buff. And they've still got a minute and 20 seconds left on this Baron buff. They keep going.
And ShowMaker going in. Kiaya just burst out by Deft. ShowMaker puts an equalizer down himself and pops the stopwatch so he doesn't go pop underneath the tower. Inhibitor tower already down as Deft flashes forward. Slayder with the lightning crash, but the shield from the Guardian from Pallet does not arrive in time. Now Pallet dancing away as Canyon looks for the kick. Dash away from Levi, and DK are just pushing in on 3 separate fronts.
All right. That's going to be 2 inhibitors down and probably looking for Nexus now. Slayder down for 27 seconds, Kiaya down for 20. Dplus looking to end Game 1.
Levi puts the Cataclysm down, but it's really just a jacuzzi for DK as they boil him in the midst of it. The kickback as well. A bit of showmanship there from Canyon to end this one out. 26 minutes is all it took for DK to once again defeat a team lower ranked than them.
And it might not be his birthday, but Deft and me really standing out here, and him, and most importantly, Kellin, able to do well in this first game. They're able to get them the 1-0 lead. And for Deft, I think he's been having a great year, a great tournament. But for Kellin, even though, you know, we've seen Slayder